He laughed at his old friend in front of everyone, thinking he was just a nobody now. But when he realized the truth too late, what he did next brought the entire crowd to tears. The grand ballroom of the Wellington Hotel gleamed under sparkling chandeliers, filled with the buzz of champagne toasts and the clink of expensive watches. It was a reunion of the elite, the so-called legends of Lincoln High, a gathering of old classmates who had made it big, or at least wanted everyone to believe they had. At the center of it all stood Blake Harrington, 39, now a millionaire tech entrepreneur, confident and loud, tossing jokes like confetti. And then, through the crowd, he saw him, Daniel Reed. Once Blake's closest friend, the guy who shared notes, dreams, terrible cafeteria lunches. Now, standing quietly by the wall in worn shoes and a faded jacket, clutching a plain invitation like it might disappear. Blake smirked. Well, well, look who crawled out of the past. The room chuckled on cue. Blake sauntered over, drink in hand. Didn't think they'd let just anyone into a 5-star hotel these days. The laughter grew sharper. Daniel smiled faintly, not out of amusement, but out of something sadder. It's good to see you, Blake, he said softly. Yeah? Blake grinned. Maybe you're here for the leftovers. The crowd howled. Daniel's hands tightened on the glass he held. The moment should have ended there. Another quick jab, another rich man's joke. But Blake saw it, the flicker in Daniel's eyes. Not shame, not anger. Hurt. Real, cutting, human hurt. The kind that no tailored suit or platinum watch could ever cover up. And in that instant, Blake's heart cracked open. Because across the ballroom, a projector screen lit up. And what it showed would make Blake realize he wasn't standing in front of just a nobody. He was standing in front of the man who had saved his life once and never asked for anything in return. And what Blake did next would leave everyone in that glittering room speechless. The projector flickered to life, and everyone turned, laughing, whispering, expecting a slideshow of high school memories. But what filled the screen first was a grainy photo. A hospital bed. A teenage Blake, pale and weak. Beside him, holding his hand, was Daniel Reed, younger, hopeful, never leaving his side. The room went silent. What? Blake's voice faltered, confusion cutting through his pride. Then a voiceover began, the event planner's welcome message, cheerful and casual. Tonight, we honor not just success, but true loyalty. Those who lift others when no one's watching. Like Daniel Reed, who spent 3 months visiting his best friend, Blake Harrington, after his accident senior year. The same Daniel who gave up his college scholarship to help pay for Blake's therapy after the insurance failed. The screen flashed newspaper clippings, old fundraising events, a GoFundMe page Daniel had quietly run, without once putting his own name forward. Pictures of Daniel working 2 jobs, signing papers at a mechanic shop, living modestly while Blake went on to build an empire. The weight of it all crashed into Blake like a freight train. The jokes, the smirks, the cruel laughter from moments ago. All while he owed his second chance at life to the very man he had just humiliated. Blake turned back toward Daniel, who stood motionless by the wall, his eyes downcast, not angry, not bitter, just tired. The guilt was instant and suffocating. Blake's chest tightened. His voice cracked as he spoke. Daniel, I didn't know they were gonna... Daniel just shook his head, offering a small, sad smile. You didn't have to know, he said softly. You just had to remember. And that's when Blake did something no one expected. He walked back through the crowd, dropping his glass to the carpet with a heavy thud. And he dropped to his knees, right there at Daniel's feet. I'm sorry, Blake choked out. Not just for tonight, for forgetting the only person who never forgot me." The room held its breath. The millionaire, the tech genius, the golden boy of Lincoln High, on his knees before the man he once called brother. Some people wiped their eyes. Others just stared, stunned, silent. Because in a world of hollow apologies and empty gestures, this was real. And for Blake Harrington, this was just the beginning of making it right. The room stood frozen, cameras lowered, champagne forgotten, as Blake remained on his knees, voice trembling, eyes filled with shame. Daniel, stunned by the weight of the moment, bent down and pulled him to his feet, shaking his head gently. "Blake, you don't owe me anything." But Blake gripped his shoulders, voice raw. "I owe you everything. You gave up your future so I could have one." Daniel gave a sad smile. "I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because you were my brother." The words hung between them, aching. Blake turned to the crowd, his voice shaking but louder now. "You all came here tonight to toast success," he said, sweeping a hand toward the glittering crowd. "Well, let me tell you what real success looks like." He pointed to Daniel. "It's a man who gave without asking for anything back. It's loyalty when no one is watching. It's kindness when no one is keeping score. He's the success. He's the legend." The room erupted, not in polite applause, but in raw, emotional cheers. Tears flowed freely. Even those too proud to cry blinked hard against the flood. And then Blake did something even bigger. He pulled a thick folder from his jacket. Something he had been planning to unveil later in the night for a special announcement. He turned and placed it in Daniel's hands. Inside, a deed to a new home, fully paid. A share in Blake's growing tech company. A lifetime partnership offer, Vice President of Community Outreach, helping kids from struggling backgrounds. "You gave me my future once," Blake said, voice breaking. "Now, let me give you yours." Daniel stared at the papers, hands shaking. "Blake, I don't even know what to say." Blake just smiled through his tears. "Then just say you'll walk with me again, like you always did." And right there, in the middle of the ballroom, two boys from Lincoln High, one who lost everything, one who gave everything, embraced like brothers. Not for the cameras, not for the crowd, but because sometimes, when the dust clears and the masks fall away, love, loyalty, and redemption are all that's left. And that's more powerful than all the millions in the world. After the emotional embrace, the mood in the ballroom shifted completely. The music resumed, but it wasn't loud or boastful anymore. It was soft, almost reverent. Guests weren't bragging about their latest deals or designer clothes. They were talking about Daniel, about real sacrifice, real friendship, and the kind of loyalty money could never buy. In the days that followed, headlines splashed across every major outlet. Millionaire honors forgotten friend, a reunion that brought a city to tears. From humiliation to redemption, Blake Harrington's public apology that inspired thousands. Social media exploded. People who had once dismissed Daniel now rallied behind him. Messages of support poured in. Donations were made to community centers in his name. But Daniel? He stayed the same. Humble, grateful, quiet. He accepted his new role at Blake's company, not because he craved power, but because it gave him a platform to do what he always believed mattered most. Helping others who were struggling, just like he once was. One afternoon, months later, they stood together in front of a new building. The Reed Harrington Youth Center. A place where kids who felt invisible could walk in and be reminded they mattered. Daniel cut the ribbon with shaky hands, Blake at his side. "This isn't about paying debts," Blake said during the speech, voice thick with emotion. "It's about honoring the people who make us who we are and making sure we never forget them again." A photo taken that day now hangs in the lobby. Daniel and Blake, side by side. No suits, no titles, just two friends, two brothers. The plaque underneath reads, "True success isn't measured in what you build. It's measured in who you never leave behind." Because at the end of it all, when the crowds faded and the lights dimmed, one truth remained. Kindness remembered is kindness returned. And sometimes, redemption isn't found in the spotlight. It's found in the arms of the friend who never stopped believing in you.